When the government starts freezing disaster relief and deporting sick American kids, you know something has gone terribly wrong. Today, Senator Patty Murray took DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to task, accusing her of breaking appropriations laws, abusing taxpayer dollars, and turning the Department of Homeland Security into a political weapon. And Noem's response? A stunning display of arrogance and denial.
Thank you very much, Chair Britt, and I look forward to working with you and Ranking Member Murphy in this Congress. Madam Secretary, as Senator Murphy mentioned in his opening statement, Secretary Noem, under your leadership, we have seen you ignore our appropriation laws, our Constitution, common sense, and even basic humanity. And like a lot of Americans, I really have been horrified by the lawlessness and incompetence and cruelty that we have all witnessed. And for all the talk about going after criminals, you have sidetracked DHS staff who are investigating drug dealers, terrorists, human traffickers, and rather than photo ops, we need more of your focus on providing basic diligence, because your crackdown has roped in American citizens and people who are here legally with no criminal record. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether that was right or wrong. I know it's wrong. The world knows it's wrong. And I think the first thing the history is going to say about your leadership is that you were responsible for many of these travesties. So I'm deeply concerned. You've deported a 4-year-old U.S. citizen with cancer. You've disappeared people to a notorious prison in El Salvador. And you have spent $100 million in taxpayer dollars to air TV ads thanking President Trump. That is really reckless. It's unacceptable, and in my opinion, can't continue. The American people are paying for this with our taxpayer dollars and with their most basic rights. Now, in the last 3 months, you have frozen or canceled over $100 billion in funding that was approved by Congress, bipartisan. We are talking about everything from disaster relief to grants that keep people safe. But when my staff has requested information on the status of this unacceptable holdup, the department failed to provide any acceptable justification. This illegal freeze, and it is illegal, is taking a real toll on communities who are waiting on the investments that Congress has delivered. So will you commit to immediately unpausing these funds?
Well, Senator, thank you for covering a lot of topics there. Let me touch on a few of those right away.
Well,
what the Trump administration is doing is enforcing the law for the first time. Under the Biden administration,
I'm asking you about the funds.
Illegal aliens were prioritized over American citizens. Now the scales of justice have been leveled, and
Madam
no one
Chair,
is treated better than anyone else.
I asked you a
Citizens are treated the same,
Madam
and these
Secretary,
illegal aliens
and
criminals
answer.
are being
I heard
deported.
it previously. I'm asking you a specific
The grants that you are referencing,
Correct.
The grants that you are referencing have been paused and reevaluated to make sure that they are truly being spent in the way to which they were appropriated.
Well,
many of these grants were being diverted into things they were never intended to.
These funds were passed on a bipartisan basis by members.
Absolutely, and the Biden
Congress.
administration perverted them in how they used them, diverted them to facilitate illegal immigration, to house people in places like the Roosevelt Hotel, who held illegal criminals
We're
that
talking,
took the life
Madam
of
Chair,
Laken
about
Riley.
$100
I think all of us
billion.
have recognized
It is not
that
credible
the victims
to me that
here are
all
the
the
people who have
recipients
died
of
and
that.
lost their children because
Madam
of this
Secretary,
situation.
it is not credible. Madam Chair, it is not credible that $100 billion is used to break the law. That just cannot be true. And let me change this a little bit. On the other hand, I am very concerned that DHS is now dramatically overspending funding that Congress has not provided. If you were a CEO doing that, I don't think you'd be in your job long. We need accountability and we need answers, and that includes informative responses to oversight questions sent to the department over the last 3 months. I am ranking member on this committee. I have worked with every member of this committee. We take our responsibility serious to fund your department and others. We need to have answers. We need to have accountability, and we need to make sure you're not overspending money that you were not allocated.
Well, thank you for that question. I will be very
It's not really
clear
a
in the
question, it's a
fact.
statement.
Do you want me to respond?
Well, you can.
Well, I've worked many jobs in my life, but I also have been a CEO. I've run businesses.
I'm not
I've been a
questioning
governor.
your credentials. I'm questioning your spending.
We are prioritizing where our security needs are in this country, and we are hoping that this body will agree that reconciliation is necessary to address the things that have been neglected in this country for too long, that we have the technology upgrades, the manpower upgrades that are necessary. So the $170 billion request for the Department of Homeland Security is
Chair,
incredibly
my time is
important
running
to make
out,
sure we
and
have the
I do have a
tools that
couple
we
of
need.
additional questions. The fact is that you've not been given this funding. Saying that it's going to come in reconciliation that has not passed is not an acceptable answer. I did want to ask about FEMA and disaster relief. This is really important. A lot of disaster relief has been politicized. You've endorsed eliminating FEMA outright. We have seen an upheaval at FEMA that is going to put lives in jeopardy. 1 in 5 FEMA employees have been pushed out, taking this administration's so-called buyout offer. We are losing indispensable staff just weeks away from fire and hurricane season, and over $100 billion in disaster relief and FEMA grants are still being held up. DHS is making it a lot harder to qualify for relief, something people in my home state of Washington are experiencing firsthand. Multiple requests from governors have been rejected in recent weeks, including a request from our state. And we haven't been given any response about this. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, has President Trump directed you to prioritize funding for Republican states?
Absolutely not.
Have you directed your staff to prioritize funding to Republican-led states over Democratic
Absolutely
states?
not.
Have your
Under this administration, there will not be any politicization of support, relief, FEMA assistance, or grants given based on politics.
Well,
every single person will be treated the same. It will be very different than the Biden
Madam
administration.
Secretary, there's a clear trend of Republican-led states getting very fast responses and funding. Democrat-led states are being forced to wait. We have never treated FEMA as a partisan issue in this country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The hearing began calmly enough, but Murray's tone made it clear she wasn't there for pleasantries. She laid out, point by point, the chaos under Noem's leadership, ignoring appropriations law, the Constitution, and basic humanity, deporting a 4-year-old American child with cancer, disappearing people into a prison in El Salvador, spending $100 million in taxpayer dollars on propaganda TV ads thanking Donald Trump. And then came the bombshell. Murray accused Noem of illegally freezing over $100 billion in congressionally approved funds, money meant for disaster relief, community safety, and recovery efforts. When pressed on whether she'd commit to unfreezing those funds, Noem dodged, claiming the grants were being reevaluated. Murray shot back. It's not credible that $100 billion is being used to break the law. That just cannot be true. The exchange exposed what's become a pattern under Trump's second term, bureaucratic sabotage dressed up as accountability. While communities wait for help after fires, hurricanes, and floods, Noem's DHS is holding the money hostage, pushing her political agenda instead. Then Murray turned to FEMA, and the hypocrisy got even worse. She pointed out that Noem has supported eliminating FEMA entirely, even as Americans face record-breaking disasters. Under Noem, 1 in 5 FEMA employees has been pushed out. Over $100 billion in disaster relief remains frozen. And multiple Democratic governors, including from Murray's home state of Washington, have had their requests flatly ignored. Her question cut deep. Has President Trump directed you to prioritize funding for Republican-led states? Noem denied it, but then couldn't explain why Republican states keep getting fast responses while Democratic ones wait months for help. It's a familiar playbook. Punish blue states, reward loyalty, and spin it all as law and order. But as Murray made clear, this isn't leadership. It's lawlessness disguised as governance, and it's the American people who pay the price. Senator Murray didn't just challenge Kristi Noem. She exposed a government that stopped pretending to serve everyone equally. When taxpayer dollars become tools for political punishment, democracy itself is in danger. If you believe accountability still matters, don't let this moment fade. Subscribe to Liberal Talk, hit that like button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. Should Congress move to hold Kristi Noem in contempt for defying funding laws? Because silence is how corruption survives, and we're not staying silent.